Castenell is in the house today. And I really want to thank Stevie Chigueras for throwing on a good groove on that tune. Thank you. And please, everyone, stand. We're going to sing Surely the Presence. If you feel comfortable joining hands, please feel free to do so.
Surely the presence of God is in this place because you are in this place. We take this moment now to appreciate each other with open hearts, with loving hearts. We appreciate that each and every one of us, including ourselves, are the very manifestation, the expression, the face of the divine. Yesterday, as we observed and still observe the beautiful falling snow, creating a picture-perfect postcard image, and we settled into that beauty of nature, let us also settle in to the beauty of us. We too, like nature, are part of the divine experience called God. As we celebrate in spiritual community today, we give thanks for that. We give thanks for each other. And we give thanks for all that is. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. Amen. You may be seated.
Definitely want to thank Leslie Smith for joining us today. She dropped in and offered her services. I'm really happy to have Les's support. This ain't no mountain.
On a good day I remember and I feel
Good morning. There we go. I'm here now. On a good day, we feel the whispers of heaven. Yesterday was one of those good days, and heaven was whispering so sweetly and serenely in the beauty of the fallen snow that I found myself captivated by it and sitting, staring out the window at the snow. So much so that I may have missed about 3 or 4 phone appointments that I had yesterday because I was just, as the song says, I was lulled into just a place of stillness by that serenity. Like I didn't know you could see serenity in such a way as to sit and watch the snow falling. And it was like the perfect rate too. It wasn't too light that looked like it was just didn't know it wanted to snow or not. And it wasn't too heavy that things were just masked. It was just that perfect amount of snowfall.
Wait till Tuesday.
So yeah, I hear that serenity might be turning into a nice loud shout coming in during the week. But that's all part of the journey as well. It was not serene for me on Thursday evening. Thursday evening, my wife came up to town for just one evening. And she came up for one evening to attend the Garth Brooks concert. Got a picture. Where's my... Yeah, there we go. That's us at Garth Brooks. Now, you got to understand a couple things that makes this an extraordinary event. I don't like country music. Not that there's anything wrong with country music. I'm just not a fan. Thank you. And my wife's not crazy about country music either. She isn't. So when she said a couple of weeks ago, and literally a couple of weeks ago, like 2 weeks ago, this was like one of these spontaneous things, she wanted to go see Garth Brooks. First of all, as a man who's been married for 15 years, my initial response is, okay, yes, dear. And then... Because I've learned that even if you don't agree, you start by agreeing. Can the married men in the place relate? People, yeah, we can relate. Okay, you just start by agreeing, and then after a moment, I said, Garth Brooks, really? That's how we wanna go? I'm kind of surprised. Then she told me the story, and the story was this: when she was a teenager. She had tickets to go see Garth Brooks perform at the county fair. And the timing was such that they had booked him for the county fair, and in between the time of them booking him, his first CD had came out, his first single hit the top of the charts, and all of a sudden he was stepping into stardom. But when they booked him, he was a nobody. Okay? So she was all excited. A couple days before, she went off to some kind of church camp or some kind of camp or retreat. It may not have been church related, I don't know. But she went off, decided to get a second piercing in her ear. Her mother was very upset, grounded her north Garth Brooks. Yes. So apparently, all this time later, she's seeking to resolve the childhood trauma of that event. By saying, let's go see Garth Brooks. So we go to the concert, and, so we get online, we buy tickets, she buys a plane ticket to get up here, and we go to the concert, we've got the nosebleed seats. Like, if I stood up and just tiptoed, I could hit the ceiling of the TD Garden. We were just like so far up there. It was dizzying. And, some of you've been there. So the place is filling up, we're looking down, seats are filling up, but the floor seats are still fairly empty. So I said, give me a minute. So I go down to guest services and I say, listen, we're all the way up to the top of the thing, and it's a long climb, and my wife is just so winded getting up there, and she's worried about this is what happened. I'm not making this up. Which is what I had to tell the lady at guest services, because she was kind of responding the way you guys were, like, yeah, right, kind of deal. She's like, I said, and she has to go to the bathroom and come back up, and the floor is empty, any chance. So the woman's kind of giving me this look. And then at that moment, 2 other women walk in with the exact same story. And then one of them promptly faints because she truly is exhausted from the climb, and she wasn't feeling well. They're calling in paramedics. Everybody's hustling. There's all this fur of activity to tend to this woman needs, and I step back, and I'm just there and holding energy and space and sending her some love and some blessing. And when it all settles, lady at guest services just looks at me and says, "Give me your tickets. We don't want to run the risk of that happening again with anybody." So we all ended up with floor seats from the nosebleeds. Now here's the thing about country music, and this is the thing my wife and I share. I'm going to say this as delicately as possible. One of the fascinating exercises in going to a country music concert, and we don't go to a lot. This might have been my second in my whole lifetime. Well, actually the first. Because you can't really count Jimmy Buffett as concert music, but I throw him in the same category of people I would not buy tickets to go see. But the interesting experience is the stretch for us to get out of our own irrational, unfair judgments about the stereotypical fan of country music. And that's all I'm going to say. I think you can get where I'm going with that. I'm not proud of being in that place, but again, this is the human experience. And again, we are clear that we have formed uninformed, unfair judgments. My wife might be in a place to almost be justified for having them. She comes from, she was born in North Carolina and raised in very rural Southern Virginia. So she's been working to reconcile her past, let's say. I am too. I'm from Barbados. I don't live there. Why don't I live there? Because that beautiful rock isn't big enough for me and my family. So I am working to reconcile, forgive, do my healing journey so that one day I can retire on those beautiful shores. By then, most of the people who I have upset with will be dead, but that's not the point. The work needs to be done before that. I'm clear about that. So this is our journey. This is our journey. We're at the concert and we're looking at, observing the people around us and doing our best to, as we say in unity, recognize that they too are part of the oneness that I'm part of as well. We were having a tough time. And then he sang a song, and this is one of his newer songs. Song is so new, they're doing this thing at concerts now, apparently, which I'd never seen before. If the song is really new, they put the words up so people can at least recognize, maybe catch on, sing along. And I forget the name of this song, but the line that really caught me was so powerful, I had to take a picture on the screen that he had up there. And the tagline of the song was, "It's just people loving people." And he was talking about, all the ills that are going on in the world right now. What's the answer? What's the cure? What is really this all about? It's just people loving people. I was very moved by that because, it was, some people when they greet me in the receiving life, they're like, that message was just for me. And I say, thank you. You're the one I showed up for. And I seriously mean that. But when I heard this song being sung, I was like, yeah. Am I one of those people loving people in this moment? And it kind of really wasn't. So it was a real, in my face being spoken to experience, which I'm always very open to. I don't ever profess to have it all together. So when I can be in a place, and in the place where I least expect to hear it, and be open to receiving it, then there's a lot of transformation that happens in that. And I thought it was a perfect segue from last week's talk when we talked about it's not enough to know these principles, we have to live them. This is part of the living them. Because if there's any time that we have the experience to practice the principles and live the principles and be transformed, it's through being in relationship with other people. And when I say being in a relationship, I just mean having people in our lives. I say this jokingly most of the time, life would be perfect if people weren't involved. But they are, so what you gonna do? Here's what you're gonna do. What you're gonna do is live that fifth principle and bring that into your experience of relationship with others. The fifth principle is not just about trying to create a holy experience for you. It's about creating a holy experience in all that you do, in all that you show up for. That's why we live these principles, to transform our relationships. We say, as I mentioned before, in unity, we like to say, I see the Christ in you. And we love to say it just with a little bit of snark when somebody really gets under our skin. They're getting on my last nerve, but you know what? I see the Christ in them. Or sometimes the Christ is in there somewhere. Maybe it's just me who says this. I'm working in my Wednesday night prayer class. I'm working on encouraging folks to use I statements, not we, because we implies that I'm in somebody else's head. I know their experience, and I'm trying to elicit agreement. So when I get in the place of going, Christ is in there somewhere, as I was doing Thursday night, observing others at the Garth Brooks concert, I was kind of saying it as a piecemeal for myself. But it is true. It is true. Each and every one of us, it's our second principle, has that essence of the one power, the one presence of all that is. And we come along with these wonderful personalities as well. And sometimes I'll butt up against a personality that does not mesh with mine. And I'm at a choice point. What am I going to do? I could be in conflict with that person. I can choose to not interact with that person under the guise of keeping the peace. Because sometimes we do that. I do that. There's that we again. Sometimes I do that. Okay, we're butting heads, so you know what? I'm not gonna interact with that person. Because then my soul's at peace, therefore I'm generating peace. Meanwhile, underneath, they're still pushing the button as well. Or there's the third option. And the third option is to see these individuals in our lives who push our buttons, who rub us the wrong way, who we simply can't seem to mesh with, as an opportunity for spiritual transformation, an opportunity to live that fifth principle. It's just not enough to know it. We have to live them. We have to live it. Because here's the truth. When I encounter a personality that doesn't mesh with mine, notwithstanding the other individual being abusive, or notwithstanding some horrible act of violence, notwithstanding all those things, if there's nothing of that going on, and it's just we're not clicking, we're not meshing, I got to ask myself, what is it in me that is also preventing that? Because I've obviously had some button in me pushed, otherwise I wouldn't have gotten upset. I wouldn't have gotten angry. I wouldn't have felt disdain towards this other soul. And that in itself is a spiritual practice of mindfulness and awareness. To, in the midst of that, ask ourselves, I'm getting a button push. What unresolved place of healing is in me that just got triggered? Because as we evolve in our lives, what do? We learn skills, and in learning those skills, sometimes we try to bury the stuff, or we think we've done the work with forgiving the stuff, and then it comes up again. I'll remind you all, forgiveness is not a destination, it's a process. Forgiveness is not a destination, it is a process, which means it's ongoing. If you ever get to a point where you say, oh, I've forgiven that, you haven't. It just means you may have gotten to a place where the next layer of healing hasn't been peeled off yet. And sure enough, you sit there long enough, somebody will come along who will rip that Band-Aid right off. This is how it works. Because we've invited it into our lives, we've asked ourselves, once we step onto the spiritual journey, for the opportunities. We don't think we've asked for them, but let's just cut to the chase. We have. Okay? So when we have, we get to be on the lookout for when they come. And they come in wonderful, uplifting, mystical experiences, and they also come in the nitty-gritty friction that we have in relationships. Okay? So, how do we get to ourselves in that place where when stuff like that happens, we can embody it as a spiritual practice? How can we be in relationship with others such that it opens us up as well? First thing, there are 4 steps I want to share with you today. The first one is called love yourself. Self-love. All love begins with self-love. All love begins with self-love. You can only love another to the extent with which you love yourself. You know, Jesus said this when he was asked, what is the greatest commandment? He said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. And I don't imagine why someone didn't ask the follow-up question, well, how do we love ourselves? Right? That kind of made sense. That'd been my next question. How do we love ourselves? We love ourselves many ways. One, by taking care of ourselves. If I were to ask you, could you tell me one thing you did this past week to take care of yourself? I do this in staff meetings now. This is a new thing we have on our Wednesday staff meetings. It's becoming quite hilarious because folks are forgetting to do their homework. But we end every staff meeting, and I invite the staff into 3 questions. 1, what was the highlight of your work week here? 2, what was the highlight of your personal week outside of work? And 3, what did you do to take care of yourself this week? So at the end of every staff meeting, we share this. Because to take care of ourselves is to love ourselves. And we all have different ways how we do that. You know, we take some time for ourselves, we rest, we exercise, you know, we eat healthy. That kind of takes care of a lot of the physical stuff. But as we go deeper, taking care of ourselves, meeting our spiritual needs, spending some time in prayer, meditation, or silent walk. But how do we heal the wounds as well? And we can only heal the wounds in ourselves and do the forgiveness work when we take the time to look at these things. If we do it proactively, if we do it before the other person pushes our button, then there's no button, right? If we take care of it, if we're proactive. But sometimes we're not even aware until the button's pushed. And then you go, that thing's still there. All right. Thank you for pointing that out. It's what I often say silently to the other person. Thank you for pointing that out. Love ourselves. We can only love others to the extent with which we love ourselves. And the more we love ourselves, the more we can do number 2, which is open our hearts. Open our hearts. What does that really mean? You know, we say that in prayers a lot here with open hearts. What does it mean? For me, open heart kind of has two parts to it. One, being vulnerable. We don't like to be vulnerable. We don't like to be vulnerable because we don't like to feel pain. We don't like to be hurt. When we were much younger, for some reasons, when we were hurt, we put up a wall around our hearts in certain areas. We put up the fence. Nobody's going to get me there again. But you know that saying, when we build a wall around our hearts, we've created a cage for ourselves. We're not keeping others out. We're keeping ourselves locked in. So to open our hearts is to be vulnerable. And being vulnerable means you take a risk. You expose yourself to the hurt, to the potential pain, to the potential injury that may come along. Because when we put that wall up, it creates an energy of disconnect from the other person. And then they put their wall up. And suddenly we've got two walls going against each other. But to be vulnerable, to open our hearts, to know that this interaction, this relationship, this place, this situation may cause me some pain, but you know what? I'm clear it's mine to do. I'm clear that this is important. I'm going to open my heart. The other piece about opening our hearts is being compassionate. Love and kindness is a great Buddhist concept. That place of being in loving kindness. Asking ourselves, how can we bring love to this situation? How can we show up as God in this situation? Knowing very well that there may be rejection, they may be hurt, again, but that's what being vulnerable is all about. If you think about your relationships in your life, the ones that are the most intimate, the ones and the people with whom you are closest are the ones to which you have opened your hearts and let yourself be vulnerable with. Imagine if the entire world was vulnerable with itself. So the first thing was love yourself. Second one was open your heart, be vulnerable. The third, honest communication. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist monk, he's clear. Communication is the first step to peace. Communication is the first step to peace. And here's the thing about communication. We've all experienced this. I don't know how many of you are in here right now, but I know I am saying one thing, and it will be heard hundreds of different ways. Why? Because we hear things based on our own experience. That's the filter through which we listen. So already, as I'm speaking, there's stuff being lost in translation. As I'm speaking it, you're interpreting it. That's a translation of sorts. There's something being lost because we're listening through the filters. I'm saying it through my own filters. So the context with which I am saying it is lost on you all because you're not in my head, which is good because it's not always a safe place to be. But this is the thing we lose by using words. But it's what we have. So we get to be clear in our communication. Don't assume that the other person knows what we're talking about and meaning. Be clear, be explicit. Say it 3 or 4 different ways. And when you communicate with the intention of deep listening, not waiting for your turn to speak. You know, many of us, as we're interacting with others, we've already scripted the conversation. All right, so I'm going to talk to this person. If they say this, here's what I'll say. And if they say this, here's what I'll say. And then after I say that, they may say this. So then I'll say that. We've had the entire conversation scripted before we begin talking. And we're just waiting for the cues. Oh, there it went. Okay, I got these answers. Oh, there it went. I got these answers. This is how many of us communicate. But authentic communication is more about listening, deep listening. not only to what's being said, but what's not being said. And you can't hear what's not being said when you've already formulated all your responses in your mind. I want to invite you into something this week when you're talking with someone. And it might be good to give them a little heads up so they don't think you're going a little bit crazy. When you're speaking with people this week, when they say something, I want you to stop for 3 whole seconds and process what they've said. 3 whole seconds. How many times have you given that amount of space in conversations before you respond? And I'm speaking to myself too. Mindful, deep listening. And in those 3 seconds, what did they say? What did I hear? But what did they say? What did they truly say? And based on that, what is mine to truly, deeply say or not say? Deep listening. So we're loving ourselves, we're opening our hearts and vulnerable, we're communicating. And finally, releasing our attachment to the outcomes. We love ourselves some good attachment, man. It's got to look a certain way. We're even attached to not being attached. To be truly unattached is to make room for the miracle, to make room for divine order to come into work in our lives and allow things to happen that we could not have predicted, that we could not have imagined. Because the things that we predict and we imagine, again, based on our past experience, based on an effort to avoid being hurt. But if we loved ourselves and we truly opened ourselves to be vulnerable and listen deeply, then we have made room for something miraculous to happen in our relationships, in our lives. And when we make room for that miracle to show up, that's how we do God. That's how we show up and allow our lives to be God in action. Some of you may have come accustomed to asking yourselves the question or heard the statement, what is mine to do? Mine to do is God. God is mine to do. And that means showing up as God, as love, loving ourselves, opening our hearts so that that love can emanate and pour out. And when it does, and we are fully present with that person, we become the voice of God in our communication. We become the voice of God. So do that this week. Do that this week and see how your relationships are going to begin to take you to a much deeper level of who you are. Because that's where the transformation begins. At the deep places that you've trying to been protecting from the hurt and the pain. That's when the miracles happen. Let's take this in a meditation. So I'm going to invite you to empty your laps of purses and papers. Plant both feet on the floor. And if you're comfortable, close your eyes and allow this music to take us to a deeper place of stillness.
the Spirit moving in me. I feel 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 the Spirit
So we allow ourselves to be in that place, to feel the Spirit of all that is moving in as and through us. I invite you to shift your attention to your breath, allowing it to anchor you in this now moment. Any distracting thoughts of what has transpired and thoughts of what is yet to be. We simply allow them to pass by, focusing on our breath, letting it pull us into this now moment, the only true moment there is. And imagine, if you will, now that you are also breathing with your heart. And with each breath, the heart opens just a little wider. First, the easy places. The places we allow others to see. The surface experiences of compassion that we share without hesitation. Then we breathe deeper to a place within our hearts of mild discomfort. A place that we may reserve only for a select few. A place of the beginning of our authentic self that we may only let a few others see. We breathe into that place, allowing that too to open. To go deeper into the heart, to that place of woundedness. The place we keep only to ourselves. The places of so profound pain that we choose not to visit. Just breathe into that. And if you're comfortable, allow even that part of our hearts to slowly open and be exposed. Behind that lies the true essence and experience of divine love that we are. Rumi says it is the wounds in our heart that allow the light to come in. I say it is the wounds in our heart that allow the light to come out. Only by breathing in to the place of deep, deep hurt and discomfort and opening that up can it be healed from the true light of God within. Let us take a few moments now in the silence to breathe deep, deep into the place of our wounded self, and then go beyond to the place where the true light resides, the light of God, the light that we are, in the silence. And in this place of silence, we affirm the truth. I am love. I am love. Beyond the wounds, beyond the separation that we've placed between ourselves and others, I am love. And as the music gently returns, we hold in our prayer space and our energy the names in this prayer box. And we affirm for every name and every situation the remembrance and the realization that in this too is God. And this too is the opportunity for healing, for surrender, for God to be made known. And I invite you now, if there are any individuals for which you would like to share and hold that energy, that the presence of God be made known in them and as them, just gently say their names out loud. We hold all these names in our hearts, knowing that in just doing so, because we are connected through the oneness of all that is, that they feel that ripple of energy, allowing them to remember and affirm for themselves that they too are love. They too are the very presence of God. Let's sing together, I Feel the Spirit. sing, I feel the love, I feel the love, I feel the love moving in me. 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 I feel the love moving. I feel the joy. I feel the joy. I feel the joy moving in me. I feel the joy moving in me. I feel the joy. I feel the joy moving in me. I feel the joy moving in me. I feel the Spirit. One more time. I feel the Spirit. I feel the Spirit moving in me. Put your hands together. I feel the Spirit moving in me. I feel the Spirit. I feel the Spirit moving in me. I feel the Spirit moving. One last time. I feel the Spirit. I feel the Spirit moving in me. I feel the Spirit moving in me. Yeah. Yeah. Woo. All right. Now that the Spirit is moving in us, let it move in your desire to give. This is our opportunity to share of your abundance and your joy and your love for this community. And those of you who are watching on live stream have the opportunity to give as well. There's a donate button on our website. Some of you may not know this, and maybe you do, that this church is entirely supported by your generosity. This is not an exaggeration. There's no Unity Mothership or parent organization that gives to us. In fact, Unity is one of those rare spiritual movements where we tithe back to the parent organization so that they can do the work that they do in this world. Things like the Daily Word and the Silent Unity Prayer Service and Unity Online Radio and all the other services that Unity as a movement provides. We support that too. So while you are working on pulling that together, I will invite the prayer chaplains to stand. There are prayer chaplains here who are sitting in a place to be in prayer with you. They've been holding the energy and the light throughout the entire service. And after service, should you feel the need to connect with them because there's a prayer on your heart, a desire to connect with someone on a deeper level for whatever situation may be going on for you or another, both joy and challenge, please see our prayer chaplains as well. And I thank you in advance for your generosity and your donation. Let us share together our statement. Hey, whoa, wait. Whoa. We all start together. Together. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you. Will the ushers come? What do we got?
Some tunes.
Some tunes. Hit us with some tunes.
We have Amadee, Castenell.
Woo! When the band was warming up this morning and I heard him playing, they said tomorrow, I don't need to speak today. Let's just, because he doesn't take us to church, so let's just sit down and enjoy. Thank you so much. When words stop meaning, that's, you feel God in that right there. All right. Sorry. So for these gifts, these reflections of our abundance, these expressions of divine energy, we give great thanks. And for the work that this goes towards in making unity on the river the beacon of light that it is, we say thank you. So it is. Amen.
It's time for announcements. Okay. Thanks for the standing ovation. Okay. We're going to start with annual meeting and potluck, which is next Sunday. We hope you'll all be with us. It is a potluck. We're asking that you sign up on the bulletin board in hospitality. Right now we have 2 dishes, and that's not going to feed us all. And we will be supplementing those as well. So if you could just take a look and let us know what you could bring, that would be great. You'll meet new board people and have an opportunity to vote for them. There will also be a 2014 financial report to share with you, and maybe some other goodies that I don't know about. Also, there's childcare. If you have children, Christina has that covered in the Joy Room. Chaplain training. Wanted to give you a heads up. Yes, it does say April, but it's not too late to be thinking about chaplain training. On the bulletin board, you'll find the requirements so you can help yourself. As you know, prayer is the heart of the unity movement, and we have probably right now 25 active chaplains, which is wonderful, but we're inviting you to take this training. It's 20 hours. It's broken into 4 components. There are 4 facilitators. You'll learn more about prayer. You'll also learn about grief and loss. What is it to be confidential? There's a component on forgiveness and deep listening, as Rev Ogun was talking about today. So you can see me or Amy Jocelyn if you have any questions about the requirements. Those 2 are on the bulletin board. I'd like to call Tom Pellini up to talk about Prosperity Plus 2. Hi, Tom.
Thank you. Namaste. Feels good, doesn't it? Vibrating at a higher frequency. How long does that last for you? Like, you get home tonight, it's still kind of vibrating pretty good. You wake up tomorrow morning and say, oh, bleep, it's Monday. I gotta go home. So when we live the truth, when we live in that higher frequency all the time, that we don't experience any lack. Are you experiencing any lack in your life right now? A relationship, money, finances, health? Merriman and Morrissey suggests that we have an operating system. Pretty much with the talk we heard today, we view the world and ourselves from our own operating system. But the good news is, I create it. I can change that operating system. So we have a 10-week program, Prosperity Plus 2. It has a catchy term, prosperity, but it's really about living. It's really about being. It's really about being that love we heard today. So I invite you, if you've had any kind of an inkling or an idea that maybe this is for me, and then maybe you felt some resistance come up, not enough time, wrong day, just invite you to look at that. Is that resistance keeping you from your good, your absolute good? So if you have any questions, feel free to speak to me after the service. We'd love to talk to you about it. It starts tomorrow, and we go for 10 weeks. Thank you very much.
And I might add, if you're questioning the weather, just call the office. If by chance there isn't someone in there, we'll have an announcement on the phone. Okay? Line 2? Check online as well. Facebook. I'm like, line 2? I know that line. All right, I'd like to ask Susan Coburn to come up and talk about the flower ministry. And by the way, this is beautiful.
I've come here this morning to draw your attention to this sacred space, this environment. And I call upon all of your senses when you come into this sanctuary. What do you smell? What do you see? What do you hear? What do you touch? All of these are adding to our experience of worship. And all of this is a gift from Spirit. I love what Mary Poppins has to say. She says, enough is a feast. And we have a feast here, so we have enough and we have plenty. So I am thrilled to be on the Flower and Altar Ministry with wonderful people that have joined this sacred service. And I invite you to think about whether you would like to join us on one occasion, on regular occasion. How would you like to support us? I'm here to answer questions. Larry Fahey is another person that you can speak to, and all of the information where you can reach us can be found in the bulletin and in Conscious Connections. So this morning, we have a feast. In its simplicity, it brings beauty and inspiration to us. Thank you, Denise, for this offering. And remember, enough is a feast.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, there's other thank yous. Always we thank Maura, the band, the chorus, Leslie, and thank you so much for the saxophone and the flute. I want to thank Lou in the back for Sunday service, Karen's on PowerPoint, Jay is on streaming, and Brian is on sound. Thank you all. Would any board members please stand up? You will notice that there are several today. Thank you. And you can see them after questions. I think it's time to introduce our celebration song, Just a Closer Walk with Thee.
Leslie Smith is going to lead the way on this one.
I
a closer walk with thee. Run in spirit, if you please. I want to take a daily walk and close with thee. Oh, dear Lord, my dear Lord, I'm gonna let it be. When I am weak, spirit is strong, and spirit keeps me from my wrong, and I'll be satisfied alone. I can keep on walking, we're gonna keep on walking close to thee. Everybody, everybody, let's sing. Just a closer walk with thee. Granted spirit, if you please. I wanna take a daily walk and close with thee. Yeah, yeah. Oh, dear Lord, we're gonna let it be. Everybody, let's walk. We're gonna take a walk. I'm gonna take a walk now. Come on and walk. We're gonna take a walk now. Come on and walk with your brother. Walk with your sister. Take a walk. Everybody, you don't have to do it alone. No, you don't have to do it alone. No, we're gonna walk with one another. We're gonna walk with one another. We're gonna walk together. All together, loving people, loving people, loving people. Let's walk, loving people, loving people, loving people. Let's walk, loving people, loving people, loving people. Let's walk with another. Let's walk with each other. Let's walk with each other. No matter the weather, we're always together. We're gonna keep on walking with you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No matter the weather, we're always together. We're gonna keep on walking with you. Yeah, say it again, say it again. No matter the weather, we're always together. We're gonna keep on walking with you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No matter the weather, we're always together. We're gonna keep on walking with you. Yeah, yeah. No matter the weather, we're always together. We're gonna keep on walking with you. Yeah, yeah. No matter the weather, we're always together. We're gonna keep on walking with you. Oh, yeah, yeah. No matter the weather, we're always together. We're gonna keep on walking with you. I'm saying it again, I'm saying it again. No matter the weather, we're always together. We're gonna keep on walking with you. Yeah, yeah. No matter the weather, we're always together. We're gonna keep on walking with you.
Leslie Smith taking it out. Hey, Castenell. Keith Bickford, Steve Traverse, Chuck Walker on the bass. And my beloved choir, give it up. Rev Ogun Holder at the front.
Woo! It's time to welcome in the children.
We are
Good morning. So today we are honoring Martin Luther King's birthday, and we did it by learning about his life. We watched a little video about his life, and we learned all the different ways that we could help other people. And we decided it was better to be
a buddy rather than a bully. You want to show everybody your... So the children take home better being a buddy than a bully bracelets today, and they have one to share with a friend. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Christina. Okay, they're going to pray with you. Okay, you'll need this.
Oh, yeah, I'll need that too. And let's stand and sing the peace sound. All right. Who's praying with me? Come on. Go be people, loving people.
Thank you, brother.